Welcome to the top of the morning show. It's your girl TT from the D, and I am super excited that you chose to rise and shine with us on this beautiful, thankful Thursday. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? I'm super excited about this morning's topic, as I could say. We are going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, sibling boundaries. Yeah. I'm the oldest of 4 biological children, and there's boundaries. Oh yeah, there's boundaries. We have to have boundaries in place, not just because of my siblings. I love my siblings, as I'm sure you love yours, but in all relationships, there have to be boundaries, especially with these sibling boundaries. So this morning, I'm just going to share a few tips with you. Some you may already know and some you might not know, but that's okay. That's why we're here. We're here to learn and grow together. Now, typically there are 4 common boundaries. One is physical. Okay. The second is moral. The third is emotional. And the fourth is financial. Now, physical. What kind of rules do you want to maintain in your space between your siblings and yourself? How does that look? Morally, what are the morals and the values? Do you guys share the same morals and values? You may see things one way and your sibling or siblings may see things another way. And it's quite often we hear people say, how could we come from the same parent or the same household and we're totally different? Because we all learn differently. We're all different type of learners. I could be audio learner, you could be a visual learner, and so on and so forth. And so we learn differently. Do we have the same teachings? Yes. Do we have the same comprehension skills? No. No, we don't. And you may say, what does that got to do with anything, TT? Everything. Boundaries, emotionally, mentally, materialistically, when we think about it, taking care of our feelings, our opinions of what's good, what's not good, what's right, what's wrong, our desires, our wishes, our dreams, our goals, expressions, our needs, our wants, choosing for ourselves is important, just like it's important for your sibling. But a lot of times we get caught up. Now, I'm going to say this, and it's going to be hard for some siblings and easier for others. No matter how much we love our siblings, some boundaries have to exist. Because otherwise, you can develop a very toxic and harmful relationship with your sibling. Now, you may say, I would never hurt my sister. I would never hurt my brother, vice versa, or sisters or brothers. And intentionally, no. Many intentionally, no. Intentionally, some could care less, right? I've heard people say, I wouldn't put them out if they was on fire. I'm like, oh, wow, y'all don't have a good relationship at all. And it's difficult to set boundaries. I remember and I wonder if my siblings will remember this, but I remember when my brother, who's the baby of the family, and my sister, who's right under me, they drove my car almost more than I did. Because I went to work, I came in, and they'd be like, hey, you got any plans today? And I'm like, no, because I was a homebody, to a certain degree. And they would fight over the car. And I remember feeling bad that I was going to have to tell them that they couldn't drive my car the way they was driving it. Like there was more to life than you jumping in my car, putting gas in it, because that was a thing. I always put gas. I fill your gas up. It's not about gas. What about oil changes and wear and tear? The miles. The list goes on and on. So I remember I was praying on it. And I was like, Lord, I have to tell my siblings that they can't just, they can't just take my car when they want. And even if I'm not going nowhere, that doesn't mean that you could just take my car. And I felt bad. I really honestly felt bad. And so when I told them, they didn't have an attitude, of course. My siblings weren't like that. But I really felt convicted in my spirit because I was like, part of me was like, if you're not going anywhere, you're not doing anything with your car and it's just sitting outside, it's not hurting anybody. But it became almost like what was looking like to be a norm for them. And I'm like, nah. And it was difficult. So I'm not speaking from what I think. I'm speaking from what I know and what I think. Now, will they respect the boundaries? Should you care if they respect the boundaries? Yes. See, the good news is that if you can establish boundaries with a positive attitude with your siblings, they will respect it and receive it positively. Without a doubt. Okay? Now, I know that they said in studies that being in a toxic relationship with a sibling, a friend, a partner, puts people at higher risk for developing heart problems such as fatal heart attacks. And I'm going to tell you what I know for a fact. And this is me being transparent. My father's baby sister suffered 2 heart attacks that I know about. Now, if she had any before, I don't know, but I know of 2. And both of those transpired shortly after arguing with my father. That's my truth. That's what I know. That's what I've been told. And it's like you can get so mad that you don't really realize that we get so angry sometimes. We create heart attacks for ourselves and stroke out. And you'll say things like, oh, ain't nobody worth me dying for. I ain't about to have no heart attack or no stroke. I say that to my family all the time. I'm not about to stroke out for you because you're going to keep on living. I'm not about to have a heart attack for you. But you know what? I keep doing what I'm doing. Right? Because when we love, a lot of us, we love hard, especially for our siblings. And if you were like me growing up being the oldest, you're like a mother hen, a father goat. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you take that stuff serious. And in essence, boundaries represent how people can really look at how they're expected to treat you versus how they don't want to treat you or they want to treat you. You can love your sister and brother, but it comes a time that you have to establish a boundary that will help you and them continue a healthy relationship. Now, here are some potential reasons for toxic behavior. 1, parents' influence. The parent influence may be consequences of something that happened prior to them, but it could be something that was given off, like an attitude transpired and shared. Let's just say, your sibling doesn't really get along with your parent and your parent treats them shitty. You know how that go. And so in turn, you tend to be that way, or they hold favor in what looks like in your favor. And so your sibling is looking at you like, oh, you're Mr. Goody Two Shoes or Mrs. Goody Two Shoes. And then they end up creating this toxicness towards you. And you're looking like, I ain't never done nothing to you, but try to love on you. But they don't see it that way. Right? They may look at you like, oh, that's the golden child. Oh, that's the good child. I'm the bad seed. I'm the bad. Oh, okay. And you looking like, no, it's not like that. And although you may not be like that, they can't help it because it's the influence that they've received from the parents. And parents don't always see that. That's just like the parents that are not able to co-parent together and they're no longer together. It's never healthy, ladies and gentlemen. It's never healthy to talk down about your child's mother or father to your child that you share. Despite how you feel, it's never healthy and it's never correct. But we see it happen way too often. Okay? And that's just a little bit. And then that can employ jealousy. And that can lead to a whole lot of other stuff that can end up with one of them siblings wanting to take the life of another sibling because they're jealous, they're envious, and they're mad as hell. So we don't need to fuel the fire, do we? So, number 2 reason, you could have a narcissist for a sibling. Jesus! Someone who's self-obsessed with themselves. They don't respect boundaries. They want everything to revolve around them at all times. It's all about them. Life revolves around them in their book. And they don't care what's happening in your life. It's truly irrelevant to them. And one thing that I will say that doesn't work in a narcissist's favor is that people who talk the most about themselves tend to be the ones that's the most insecure, which they don't like to accept that. Number 3, your sibling's too competitive. Now, sibling rivalry is a common occurrence in many families. Sometimes it can go too far. However, it comes a pivoting point, right? And it normally starts when you're children, and it gets poor and worse as you become adults. And what super sucks is when you become adults and then you have children and you teach your children to treat your niece and nephew or their aunt or uncle like they're less than. You need to do some self-checking, some self-healing, because trauma completely has taken over, right? And it's transferred, and it's terrible. Ownership, accountability is so important. Number 4, they're not going through a difficult period. A lot of times you get siblings who have a tough break, and it could be solely off of choices they've made along their life journey. It could also be that's just the break of life. They'll look at their sibling like, well, you don't understand my journey. You don't understand my struggle. And I have to be honest and transparent. There was a time when I really felt angry that my siblings could not remember a lot of trauma that took place when we were growing up, because I felt like I was the only one that had to endure it and remember it. And I was angry at them. But as I got older, I realized like God put that on my shoulders. He allowed that to happen in my life because for whatever the reason is. And then I in turn took that and learned to be better as a person, and also let it be a testimony for others, because a lot of times people are going through things and they're so quiet and they don't believe that they're not the only one until people like you and I come along, and then we say, oh yeah, oh, you think that's your truth only? Like, that's our truth as well. And they're shocked. You wouldn't believe the amount of people that realize they're not the only ones that go through things. Truly. But a lot of the times, siblings will get mad at their other siblings because they feel like it's unfair. Like, why do you live this beautiful, calm, peaceful life and I went through hell growing up? And there is no true answer to that. Every situation and circumstance is totally different. And so my heart goes out to those. I mean, as I said, I'm transparent. I felt that way for a minute, but I'm happy my siblings don't have any memory of that, and hoping that they would just know that they're creating their own happiness. They're creating their own peace. Whatever they think love looks like, happy or positive, negative or sad, is up to them. They're painting their own picture. Right? Number 5, they are manipulative. Siblings can be manipulative artists, twisting your words to get what they want, twisting the words of others that they know you respect, or those that look up to you respect you. They can twist those and make it work in their favor so they can look like, it ain't me. Oh, it's Miss Goody Two Shoes. It's Mr. I Can't Do Wrong. Y'all know, y'all can relate to this. I know you can, right? Manipulators have this gift. It's like they are connected to narcissists, right? And it's amazing how they twist things around and have you sometimes questioning your own self. Like, did I? Yeah. And you be like, hell no, I didn't. But they're so good at it that they sometimes will have you second guessing yourself. Number 6, they don't care about you at all. Now, listen. Sometimes you got them siblings that they don't like you from day one. They ain't like you when you came in from the hospital. Let alone sitting at the table every day or having to share space. And don't some of them, we got to share a room, or they were the only child and they had everything according to them. Everything was great until you came along and they find a way to blame you for everything after, right? And they may even told you they hated you and they wish you died. And I used to tell people, don't say things like that. Don't say things like that, because if something happens, you can't take it back. And yes, you're going to say, I didn't mean it. I know you didn't mean it. But when you speak it into the atmosphere, what do you think that does? What do you think that does? That's rhetorical. And so you might wonder to yourself, why is it so hard to set boundaries? Just do it. Well, that could be because you don't want to hurt your siblings' feelings. You don't want to destroy the relationship you have. You love your sister, you love your brother, or you love your sister's brothers. They're your best friend, right? Who you gonna turn to? Or they've had a tough life. They got some serious issues you don't want to add to it. And you be like, nah. So, let me tell you this. This is just a little bit of sound advice. Here's a few tips. Spend less time with your sibling. If their behavior bothers you, if they stress you out, if they bring drama, you don't have to deal with that. Just because you're siblings don't mean you have to deal with that. If they're always negative and they're always bringing problems, limit the time that you have to interact with them as an adult. As a child, you really can't do anything about that because you share space and time. You live in your parents' home. But when you're an adult, you pick and choose. And you have to pick and choose wisely. And more often than not, you have to pick and choose yourself over your siblings when they bring mayhem and negativity. And what kills me is when people try to tell you, well, you just got to love them and, you can't turn your back. No, I ain't going to turn my back on them. And I'm going to always love them, but I'm going to love them from over here. Just because I can't tolerate your ignorance doesn't mean I don't love you. It means that I'm not going to allow you to affect me as an adult. You may have affected me as a child, but when we become an adult, we don't have to let people do that. It's a choice. You consciously going to make it, and you really can't bitch and moan to anybody when you open up that door, as some would say, that Pandora box, and you just deal with it. Like, who told you you had to deal with it? Another tip, be direct and very clear. Speak what's on your mind. Now, it's very true, and it's power, and it's truth, and it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You don't got to be out cold with what you're saying, but you do want to be blunt and firm, respectfully so. And you don't want to hurt anybody, I get it. But do they care about hurting you? Rhetorical. Here's another one. Don't be afraid to say no. That kind of goes back to what I said earlier when I said, there was a time when I remember I had to set some boundaries, and I was like, I felt bad about telling my siblings who were young that they couldn't just take my car when they felt like it just because I wasn't going anywhere. And it was hard. I really struggled with it. Believe it or not, I struggled with it. But once I did it, it taught me how to say no to them. I'm the big sister, so if I be like, nah, it's nah. But then sometimes I wouldn't say they were manipulators. I would say they was young and they like, oh, come on, TT, you ain't going nowhere. I'll put gas in there. I'll be back at a certain time. Blah, 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 blah. So it was like, all right. And then finally I was like, no. And I stuck with the no. And it was hard, but I stuck with it. Another one is stand firm behind your words. Kind of going back to what I said initially at the first one. Or the second one, be direct and clear. It kind of goes with that. So we won't be redundant with that one. Then include other family members. It's essential to include other family members so that your siblings understand that their behavior not only bothers you, but it bothers them. And I've sat in on family meetings with other relatives, with their siblings, as a mediator or just as a person with a different outlook. Because one thing about me is I'm unbiased. I'm going to go what I think is right. And it may not be in your favor. You might be like, I thought you was going to be on my side. I'm not on sides, sir, ma'am, boy, girl. I'm about what's right. If this makes sense and I think that it's right, I'm rocking with it. If it's ignorance and I'm looking at it like, what? I'm not rocking with it, period. So I'm that family member. I'm that relative, right? And I've sat in on some family meetings like that, and they know how I'm coming. That's why they invited me. So it's kind of like, okay, well, what's going on here? And so you assess the situation, the circumstances, and then you make your hypothesis, whatever suits the need and situation. And sometimes you got to take a clean break from communicating when things are so out of control. Like you feeling like, listen, I can't with a K. Now we not even doing a C. We're doing a K. And it's like, all right, take a break. And taking a break don't mean you don't love them. That means, listen, this is beyond me. And if we want to keep a relationship, let's take a break so we can gather ourselves and we can come back and revisit the situation and circumstances. Because at the end of the day, when you love your sibling and they love you, nothing will harm that relationship. So remember, you want to make some boundaries. You want to stand firm on those boundaries. You want to do it with grace. You want to do it with love, compassion, empathy. Because we all have a story. We all have different chapters, although we're all created by the same author. Remember that. It's been my pleasure to bring the top of the morning show to you. I hope that you'll tune in tomorrow morning. I have a very special surprise for you. And I think you'll enjoy it. It's going to help you start your weekend. It's a very busy weekend for me, but it'll be a better weekend for you. Have a great day.